So many parents I speak with think that they may need to eliminate foods due to discomfort in their babies. So, today's quick hit episode of the Milk Making Minutes is all about food allergens in human milk. So, let's get started. When I began breastfeeding, I was blindsided by how difficult it was. I may have thought I was prepared, but having known only a handful of people who had ever breastfed and only seeing it up close from a couple of them, I had a huge learning curve. Since then, I've become a doula, a lactation consultant, and a childbirth educator. I'm your host, Lo Nigrosh, and I welcome you to the Milk Making Minutes, where we explore breastfeeding experiences through the lens of systemic barriers, so that you know your breastfeeding struggles are not your fault, and your triumphs really are the miracles you feel they are. The first thing that we need to address is it really a food allergy? This week's guest, Dr. Beata, on episode 43, had a very colicky baby who could barely be put down. It turned out that for them, there were several root causes. And as she points out, it is so important that you work with a compassionate and knowledgeable IBCLC who can work with you to help you understand what the root causes can be. So many times when you come to your healthcare provider, to your baby's pediatrician, or to a family doctor, and you say, my baby is crying all the time, my baby has frothy green poops, I really think that my baby might be allergic to something in my breast milk, then the doctor will just agree and you will go on an elimination diet, and it might provide some relief or no relief. And you will do that without addressing other root causes that might be lower hanging fruit and might address the issue more quickly and more effectively. And they're going along with that because that's what they know to do too, because they don't understand breast milk and milk supply as much as a knowledgeable IBCLC might. So, if you're feeling concerned and your gut is telling you something is off with my baby, and I think it has something to do with milk supply, I think it has something to do with my milk and the way my baby feeds, then really go to someone, explain what is happening. In this instance, you will probably be with the IBCLC for a good 90 minutes to 2 hours, and they will watch several feeds. They will put a gloved finger in your baby's mouth. They will look at the output of your baby. They will do weighted feeds. There is a lot they will do. They will take a full history from you. Um, about the foods that you eat. When you're seeing these behaviors in your baby, it will be a long and calm appointment so that they can determine what those root causes could be. Sometimes it's not always determined in one appointment, but you'll have a much better chance of getting to the root causes than just having a quick 15 to 20-minute appointment and not really feeling like you're getting the answers that you want. But let's say that you go to this appointment and you are pretty sure that allergens are the cause of your baby's fussiness. First of all, we know that prospective data indicates that 0.5 to 1% of exclusively fed breastfed babies have a food allergy. That's according to the Academy of Breastfeeding Medicine's clinical protocol number 24. So that's a pretty small percentage. What are some of the signs in the baby that you'll see? The biggest signs, they're usually physical. So the biggest signs are eczema and gastrointestinal symptoms. These are the symptoms that will make your baby feel very colicky, those gastrointestinal symptoms. The most common of these being bloody stools. That is the biggest indicator of allergy in the baby, a food allergy. This will usually occur between ages 2 to 6 weeks, although there are some reports as early as the first day of life. Generally, the infant looks good otherwise. So their weight is usually pretty good. They're usually on their curve. They're not failing to thrive. And so this is why when you bring your concerns to the provider, they're not feeling overly anxious and concerned and wanting to help you solve these root causes. So you're seeing these signs. Um, you've determined that it definitely is an allergen. What are some of the most common allergens? The most common allergen by far is a cow's milk protein. This is not to be confused with lactose. These infants are not lactose intolerant. They are showing a sensitivity to antibodies in the cow's milk, which appear in the form of the protein, which gets passed into the human milk. Eliminating lactose from the diet does not eliminate the cow's milk protein. So, after cow's milk protein, the next most common food allergens are eggs, corn, and soy in that order. Although it is sometimes the case that babies with a cow's milk allergy are also allergic to soy, and wheat and or gluten are sometimes also identified as an allergen, but less commonly so. So, in order to identify which food is the culprit, typically, you'll want to do this working with a knowledgeable IBCLC, but you can also do it on your own. And the way that you would do this is you would start by eliminating one food group. Now, if there is a history of food allergies in your family, maybe you have a food allergy, or there's a sibling that has a food allergy, or there are some cousins that have food allergies, then you might already know which food might be most triggering, or you've noticed a pattern. When your baby gets fussy, oh, every time I have ice cream, my baby tends to get fussy shortly afterwards, then you might identify that, oh, it's probably dairy. So, if your baby is highly sensitive, you might need to do this for 2 to 4 weeks, but you might see improvements in as little as 72 to 96 weeks. So, you'll eliminate the food group for 2 to 4 weeks. If after 4 weeks you've seen no improvement, you can probably bet that food is not the allergen. So, you can add that food back in, and then you'll go to the next food and eliminate it. And that's how that elimination diet would work. Hey, listeners, this is Lo jumping in with a quick request. I have big plans for the Milk Making Minutes, and that includes bringing in incredible guests who have nursed their children through amazing circumstances. That includes people like Serena Williams, other Olympians who have nursed throughout the Olympic Games, people like TikTok sensation Elise Myers. One way that they can know that this show is worth their time is through your ratings and reviews. They don't see the stats that I see that show how many people actually listen to this show. So they need to know that this show is worth their time. And one way that they can see that is when people rate and review. So if you would like to hear these incredible stories of people feeding their babies through such challenging circumstances, please rate and review. Thanks. After you've gone through all the most common allergens, if your baby is still really upset and the colic isn't eliminated and baby is still acting really fussy, it's hard to get baby to sleep, you're still seeing maybe explosive poops, for instance, then you might know that there is another root cause and you would want to work with an IBCLC to figure that out. Another great place to go is my guest from episode 43's Facebook group. She has a great group called Mindful Moms Empowered. And you can go there to get a lot of information about what some of those root causes are. And then I also have an episode about oversupply and how oversupply is sometimes confused for allergies in breast milk. And that is episode 42. So if you are looking for to see if, yeah, my baby has doubled or tripled their weight, they have explosive poops or even green foamy poops, then go check out episode 42 because that could potentially be your root cause and that could make a baby be really fussy and hard to put down to sleep. If you are looking for a community to talk about why it is so hard to identify these root causes, please join my Milk Making Minutes community group on Facebook. We talk about all of the structural barriers that make feeding our babies human milk so difficult over there. It's a place for us to chip away at those barriers, to console each other, to scratch our heads and wonder why it's so difficult, and also to try to see how we can make changes moving forward. I would love to see you there.